Let God have his own cat. Smucky was my cat. Such anger, I think, is the sanest first response to grief that a thinking, feeling human being can have, and I've always loved her for that defiant cry. Let God have his own cat. Right on, beautiful, right on. Our youngest son, then less than 2 years old, had only learned to walk, but already he was practicing his running skills. On a day not long after Smucky's demise, while we were out in the neighboring yard fooling around with a kite, our toddler took it into his head to go running toward the road. I ran after him, and damned if I couldn't hear one of those Chinbro trucks coming, or Rinko in the novel. Either I caught him and pulled him down, or he tripped on his own. To this day, I'm not entirely sure which. When you're really scared, your memory often blanks out. All I know for sure is that he is still fine and well and in his young manhood, but a part of my mind has never escaped from that gruesome what if. Suppose I hadn't caught him, or suppose he had fallen in the middle of the road instead of on the edge of it. I think you can see why I found the book which rose out of these incidents so distressing. I simply took existing elements and threw in that one terrible what if. Put another way, I found myself not just thinking the unthinkable, but writing it down. There was no writing space in the Orrington house, but there was an empty room in Julio's store, and it was there that I wrote Pet Sematary. On a day-by-day basis, I enjoyed the work, and I knew I was telling a hot story, one that engaged my attention and would engage the attention of readers. But when you're working day by day, you're not seeing the forest, you're only counting trees. When I finished, I let the book rest 6 weeks, which is my way of working, and then I read it over. I found the result so startling and so gruesome that I put the book in a drawer, thinking it would never be published. Not in my lifetime, anyway. That it was published was a case of mere circumstance. I had ended my relationship with Doubleday, the publisher of my early books, but I owed them a final novel before accounts could be closed completely. I only had one in hand that wasn't spoken for, and that one was Pet Sematary. I talked it over with my wife, who is my best counselor when I'm not sure how to proceed, and she told me that I should go ahead and publish the book. She thought it was good. Awful, but too good not to be read. My early editor at Doubleday, Bill Thompson, had moved on by then, to Everest House, as a matter of fact. It was Bill who first suggested, then edited and published Danse Macabre. So I sent the book to Sam Vaughan, who was one of the editorial giants of the time. It was Sam who made the final decision. He wanted to do the book. He edited it himself, giving particular attention to the book's conclusion, and his input turned a good book into an even better one. I've always been grateful to him for his inspired blue pencil, and I've never been sorry that I did the book, although in many ways I still find it distressing and problematic. I'm particularly uneasy about the book's most resonant line, spoken by Louis Creed's elderly neighbor, Judd. Sometimes, Louis, Judd says, dead is better. I hope with all my heart that that is not true, and yet within the nightmarish context of Pet Sematary, it seems to be. And it may be okay. Perhaps sometimes dead is better is grief's last lesson, the one we get to when we finally tire of jumping up and down on the plastic blisters and crying out for God to get his own cat or his own child and leave ours alone. That lesson suggests that in the end, we can only find peace in our human lives by accepting the will of the universe. That may sound like corny New Age crap, but the alternative looks to me like a darkness too awful for such mortal creatures as us to bear. September 20th, 2000. Part 1. The Pet Sematary. Jesus said to them, "Our friend Lazarus sleeps, but I go that I may awake him out of his sleep." Then the disciples looked at each other, and some smiled because they did not know Jesus had spoken in a figure. "Lord, if he sleeps, he shall do well." So then Jesus spoke to them more plainly.